Hey, what's up, everybody? If you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate things. Today we're joined by the big Iblis, Sister Luna. She is very Miashala. She is very Muslim. And I'm just naked and I don't feel like putting on clothes. So that's basically where that's basically where we are. So today I want to talk more about I really want to fucking drive this home. Besides the fact that I'm gonna answer a few questions or respond to a few comments. I want to drive home the fact that people need to realize that normal moves are special, dude. And that is something that is lost because of the homogenization of fighting games the past so many long while, right? Your normal move is special, okay? I want you to think about that, right? And before I get into this, just to respond to a comment, one of the guys, he tried to say that, oh, it's not that new fighting games are focused on frame data and all this kind of stuff. It's that old fighting games, we didn't know anything about frame data or anything like that. And now people want to talk about that, you know, they believe that because they grew up then that old games were better, all this kind of stuff, blah, blah. So new must be bad. Okay, what the fuck are you talking about? People knew about frames back in the day, okay? This is some kind of fucking bullshit thing. This is exactly the kind of fucking math nerd that wants to pretend that they are smarter because they talk like a fucking robot. We knew that frames existed back in the day. It's just not relevant to how the game was played, okay? Are you retarded? Okay, I'm sure, there's someone that doesn't know that what frames are. But just back in the day, yes, people knew what frames were, okay? You fucking idiot. It's just not relevant to how the game was played. And this idea that if you like old games, you know what I mean, you just must think new is bad. Okay, time out. Are you really trying to tell that to the fucking person that is still putting out new tech in all these video games to this fucking day? I am putting out new tech in every fucking game, dude. Who's the person that predicted the meta of fucking Street Fighter 6? Me. Who's the person that predicted fucking Strive? Me. Who's the person that predicted Dragon Ball Fighters? Fucking me. Not any of you fucking guys, okay? I am a student of the game, so to speak, okay? I enjoy many video games. I enjoy the idea of fighting games, right? And because of that, I have gotten my feet wet, so to speak, by trying to appreciate many different games. Because of that, it's why I've been able to accurately predict every fucking game that I've ever fucking talked about. Okay? Now, I don't know. Maybe once you become a content chiller or something like that, maybe you just become retarded. I don't know. Okay? Ridiculous. The idea that, oh, you must think new is bad. I think it's fucking ridiculous that there's this idea that old is bad. And then you got people talking about why old games are bad and they can't even fucking talk about it in an intelligent manner, dude. It's ridiculous. They talk about games and like that's not how it works. Just like we're talking about this normal situation. People somehow have forgotten how normals work. Yet they are experts on Street Fighter 2. Are you fucking kidding me? Or just fighting games in general. You know what I think about normals now? And again, this is what I'm talking about. People got to realize that normals are fucking special. What do you think about when you think about normals in a fucking video game nowadays, fighting game wise, right? You know what I think about? And I've talked about this before, especially when you get to, once you got to Street Fighter 5, like I said, Street Fighter 5, you could really tell Street Fighter 5, although still a Street Fighter game, it was really going hard with trying to bring in that 3D audience. That 3D audience that enjoys, and I say that not that I think it's necessarily bad, because I don't think video games progressing are bad. Every game has to progress, you know what I mean? But there's this sort of mindset of that more 3D players enjoy, right? Of, when you tap a person, whatever, you're looking for advantages, disadvantages, and then you get that counter hit. Maybe if it's like, say, fucking Soul Calibur, right? If you ever played Soul Calibur, you can get moves that do 2 hits or something like that. But unless the first hit is a counter hit, the whole string won't happen, so to speak. So the way that you poke in a 3D game, bringing that into a more traditional, still Street Fighter 2 kind of game, right? Look at the way that they just went so heavy in Street Fighter 5. What do you think about that? Now when you're playing footsies in a game like that, you have your medium or whatever it is. You have your counter hit that then goes into your combo, into almost your canned string because the game is so fucking pre-planned. And now we're into Street Fighter 6, even more pre-planned. So, you know, again, we're getting into norms. What do you think about a game like Street Fighter 6? Well, first of all, it's almost unheard of for a move to miss you ducking. You know what I mean? So you have to, don't even have to worry about that bullshit. But then you have, okay, here's my medium that probably puts me at a little bit of a disadvantage, or puts me at a little bit of an advantage. So I can do a link off of it. Or maybe this is my counter hit move. Oh, this is my fast jab move because this is my fastest move that I have because now reversals are not real like Dragon Punches, just like Street Fighter V after the first season. So we have to give every character a fast enough little normal that they can try to jab out of certain strings. Okay, that's what that fast move is. Oh, this is my fierce move. This is my crush counter or my punish counter. Now, every move just, this is my one normal that is cancelable. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so homogenized. It's ridiculous. But if we get into games like Street Fighter 2, look at this. Do you realize that these moves that I'm showing right here on the screen are like special moves? What is Ryu's duck short? This is my force field move almost. This is my move to check, right? It has more of a purpose than just a low. No, think about it. Do you see Ryu ever like mashing duck short to check another poke like you see? You don't see that nowadays because the moves, they just don't function like that anymore, dude. Moves aren't special like that. We're trying to check these super powerful low forward attacks like Guile's, right? Maybe we're going to try to sweep it. And guess what? Guile's sweep, 2 hits. Of course, Guile's is, still whatever. Even in Street Fighter 6, whatever, it's 2 hits. But looking like a sweep like Ryu. We don't even get a cancelable sweep anymore. And that's not that every sweep was cancelable in fucking even Street Fighter 2, but it was special for Ryu. Because guess what? You know why it's special for Ryu that he can cancel his sweep? Because guess what? Ryu generally, if you actually look at the hurt boxes and hit boxes, he has less range than other characters. And he doesn't have attacks that can fucking hit you ducking when he's standing. It is a luxury to be able to attack you while walking forward. And the guy cannot duck it in old school Street Fighter. Just like when we get to moves like here. Like, look, people forget this, right? And this is why I was trying to get at that last video. Do you know that up to super, even though Guile had this stand forward that went over lows, it didn't actually hit you ducking? Because moves hitting you ducking was a extravagant luxury. It was a special move, okay? And then once we got to super, his Sabat kick could actually hit you low. And once you got to super turbo, he could move it back and forth. And guess what? Look at just what a simple change like that, if we go back up to here, has changed the way the ground game has worked. These normals are special moves, dude. Okay? Normal moves don't feel special anymore in Street Fighter. Let's go down here a little bit more. Look at this. What do we talk about? One of the biggest changes that you think about, Super Turbo, how they started trying to differentiate Ryu and Ken. They actually gave Ken a move that he could walk forward with and poke you. He had stand short as well, but he had stand roundhouse, right? You couldn't poke with stand fierce. I mean, I want you to look at this right here, right? If we're to look at this right here, we have old school Super Turbo. Stand roundhouse is 9 frames to come out, -4 if it hits. Geez, -4, that's terrible, right? Stand fierce, 6, -7. Then we have, Street Fighter 6 right here. 12 to come out, +1 if it hits, -3 on block. 10 to come out, +3 on hit 2. But you want to know what? Guess what? How about this? Because this fucking idea that frame data is, look at this. Do you want to know why you actually use this move in fucking Street Fighter 6? Forget the frame data for a second. Guess what? You want to know why it's so good? Because it hits you ducking. If the frame data was the exact same in this game here, right? If it was the exact same in Super Turbo and it was cancelable, guess what? It still wouldn't matter in Super Turbo. Wouldn't matter, quotation marks, because guess what? It wouldn't hit you ducking. Hitting a character ducking is special. Do you realize that? Do you not get that? Look at this. And then when you get to, of course, the variables matter once we have both moves that hit ducking. That's why I said this was so terribly designed. So you're telling me this move has slightly better range, but guess what? This move can still hit you ducking and is cancelable. This slightly better range, how often do you see it in a Street Fighter 6 match? Like I said, I think I went through, I went through one of those videos. I actually went back and I tried to count. And it was like for every 3 or 4 times I would see a stand fierce, I might see a stand roundhouse once. Even though stand roundhouse, you would think, wow, this should be my poking attack. Because guess what? Stand fierce is just that much more effective. Okay? I mean, people want to pretend, oh no, it's such a great progression of fucking Street Fighter. Oh, look at normals and all this kind of stuff. It's homogenization. You've literally taken away this idea that moves can whiff you when you're ducking. If a move whiffs you when you're ducking, it's an anomaly. It's not the norm. Okay? Look at games. Why do you think Ken in fucking Street Fighter Alpha 1 and Street Fighter Alpha 2, look at this move. Look at the range of this move. His stand's strong. Guess what? He has his stand roundhouse in Alpha. And of course you do use, stand roundhouse in Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 more than you would use in, say, Street Fighter 6. But guess what? You want to know why this move is so effective? Because it hits you ducking and you can cancel it. It's fast and it hits you ducking. And look at the look at the hitbox on it. It might not look. This is why I say when you look at when people focus on hitboxes and hurt boxes without actually playing the game. I think if you were just to look at this move and not actually play the game, you might be like, why is this move so good? But if you actually play the game, you're like, wow, this move is fucking ridiculous. Another reason why I said, proximity normals are important, because then you have fucking clusterfuck moves like this. Look at Sakura in Alpha 3. You ever see a match of Sakura in Alpha 3? Guess what? How often do you see her, stand roundhouse you do see, but guess what? You also see her mashing back fierce like a motherfucker. Because it hits you ducking and you can cancel it. The idea that, people don't get how important it is that a move hits you ducking and how it changes footsies. Go back to original Street Fighter stuff. Look at this. Now, of course, there's fireballing a poke, and of course, there's hurricane kicking through sonic boom and everything like that. But look at how important these 3 moves are here. Just, in the general of the match. Guile's duck forward and Ryu's checking it with sweep, checking it with duck short or trying to sweep it. Look how important that is. Of course, there is fireballing the low forward too, and there is, sonic booms come into play, all that kind of stuff. But guess what? But then boom, you throw this in. Look at the footsies once you get to Super Turbo of Ryu. The game has evolved to such an extreme degree by adding this extremely powerful Sabat kick to Super Turbo. Right? Normal moves are special, dude. I don't get what the people, I don't understand what the fuck people are talking about. You guys don't get it. And the fact that people have somehow forgotten that moves could whiff you in Street Fighter, that moves could whiff you in fucking up to CVS 2. Moves could whiff you in fucking Street Fighter 4. I think some moves can whiff you in Street Fighter 5. It's been a while. Not as many as past games. It got worse in Street Fighter 5, but people, it's insane. Me and Sister Luna, this is haram. It's crazy, but yeah, like I said, it's just it shows this fucking, I can't believe I read these comments about people trying to say frame data existed in other games too. You just only like old games. You don't know anything about new games. You're biased. No, dude. Excuse me. If I only liked old games, why have I done so much tech in all these new games too? Right? I can appreciate fighting games. Now, maybe I don't care about actually playing new Street Fighter because it's just not interesting to me. Okay? I would prefer, if I'm going to play a video game, I'm going to play a video game I like. I don't care about being one of these fucking people that, I know people even say Slimer and slime stuff from me from Street Fighter 6. I don't care about being one of these people that, I'm going to complain about Drive Rush all the time, but I'm still going to play the game. If I hate the game, I'm not going to play it. If I don't like the game, I'm not going to play it. I barely have time to play a game I even enjoy, right? I'm not a masochist for a fucking fighting game. You know? I'm not busting a nut for a fucking fighting game that I don't like, dude. You know? And again, I was looking at that comment that Clayton thinks that fighting games are, talk about the 3D player. Yes, you can. I don't know how people can even argue that. You can tell. And that's not that new games are not still Street Fighter, so to speak. From a certain perspective, it's still, a 2D plane. There's fireballs. There's, oh God, or is there even really dragon punches? And I guess there's shit like parry now and everything. But, if you think about that 3D player, sort of the way that you poke in a 3D game, dude, you know what I mean? Fishing for counter hits and everything like that. You don't fish for counter hits. You don't fish for that link of strong or whatever. Just like in, I use the Soul Calibur example of poking a character and you have like a 3-hit string that you want to interrupt. And normally it doesn't combo unless you get the counter hit, right? And then say if you were to compare that to Tekken or something like that, Tekken might have, fishing for your launcher or some shit like that, right? It's the way that you like poke and fish for things, right? It's very, you can tell that in the heavy emphasis on frame data, right? And the way that moves work, it's very 3D oriented, right? It's to try to bridge that gap because, of course, there's different, demographics of people. Some people like this kind of game. Some people like this kind of game. And you could tell that really once you got to Street Fighter V, it was, hey, we want to bridge this gap. We really want to start bringing in this 3D player mindset. We want to put in, especially when you got to the second season of, say, Street Fighter V, right? Oh, we don't want to have dragon punches. We don't want you to be able to get out of strings. You got to hold this frame data. You got to hold this frame data. But don't worry, you have a jab that you can jab here, you know what I mean, to try to get yourself out of it. It's just, again, there's frame data in old games, but guess what? You don't talk like that because it's not relevant to the game. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, dude, my brain, sometimes I feel like answering questions, replying to comments, it like makes me like stupid or something, dude. It just is. Again, you can watch any content creator you want. I'm not one of those guys. You don't see me making up lies about people. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of any fucking content creator in terms of their fucking intelligence. Okay? You can watch anybody. Guess what? No one has done what I've fucking done in games. It's ridiculous. It's comical. It's pathetic to even be. I'm just so far. Ugh. To think that people actually think some of these people are smart when they can't even have a conversation about the genre of games that they enjoy. And they just spread false info like this, like it's cool to hate old school Street Fighter. And then when you hear them talk about why old school Street Fighter is bad, they're talking about things that don't even exist in the game. It's so fucking weird. It's like, that's not how the game works. It's just, ugh. But yeah, anyway, the point is, what people don't want to admit is that normals aren't really special anymore. Normals are just different shades of gray, a homogenized normal toolkit that every character seemingly possesses to a different degree. Back in the day, normals were special. And when you start removing all these proximity normals and all that kind of stuff, guess what? You're going to have moves that start overlapping and have multiple functions when they shouldn't. And the argument, again, these are videos that I've made so long ago now, right? Like, oh, well, there's some moves that might feel redundant in Street Fighter 2 because you have so many buttons and then proximity normals. There's potential complexity and redundancy, like I've said in these videos. This normal that might not seem that powerful from one perspective, from one angle, when you actually get to these character matchups, because characters actually were different and also had these different normals and also had different, hurt boxes themselves. They were not all the same size ducking and standing, blah, blah, blah. You actually had them once they collided, they provided and gave birth to interesting interactions, right? And that's why I've talked about before, even that recent video. I talked about the GED test, right? Maybe from a certain perspective, new school Street Fighter, to get to the GED level, you have to study more because video games are more frame data oriented now. They are not intuitive. There is less ability, there's less fluidity to actually do different things. Things are more set in stone. So you have to study a little bit to get more to the GED test. But once you get there, the GED level, the social, like, again, the GED test is basically saying that you're, quotation marks, smart enough to survive in society. But surviving doesn't mean that you are succeeding in society. Society, I can't speak. But surviving does not necessarily mean that you are succeeding in society. It doesn't mean that you're thriving in society. It just means that you're enough, that you have enough, sort of general knowledge to sort of, survive in the society. Whereas in Street Fighter 2, maybe it's easier to get to that GED zone. But once you get to the GED zone, so to speak, there's so many different character interactions, all this kind of stuff, right? Even though you can get your feet wet easier in Street Fighter 2, right? To actually survive in Street Fighter 2 consistently, to beat all these other people, you got to start studying then. That's the study. Like, isn't there something like, I think they compare it to something like America schools to Japan schools or something like that. Isn't it something like it's harder to get into college in Japan, but once you get into college in Japan, it's easier to pass. And then it's kind of like the opposite of America. America, it's easier to get into the college, but then if you actually want to pass college or something like that, then you actually got to study harder. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something, maybe that might be a good comparison. I don't know if that's still an analogy people use anymore because I'm just old and I haven't been to school in so long, but I remember that analogy from when I was younger. And like I said, then people giving Vega as an example in Street Fighter 2. Oh, it's so easy for Vega to win in Street Fighter 2. Vega is one of the characters in Street Fighter 2 that gets a free scholarship. You're comparing a character like Vega. Vega doesn't have to study to get to the GED zone. He doesn't have to do anything. Okay? Like you're comparing a character that is a easier execution character to do some bullshit shenanigans, so to speak. But once you get to a higher level, guess what? You don't see Vega dominating every tournament, despite the fact that maybe he had the free scholarship to get into college. Once you actually start getting better at the game, Vega, he has to work a little bit too, right? Now, maybe he's still on that free scholarship. He doesn't have to pay for, food, so he's got a little bit extra money, whatever the fuck it is, right? You know what I mean? But you probably don't know what I mean because you didn't even know that normals could whiff you in Street Fighter 2, right? I mean, come on. My fucking brain. Me and Sister Luna, she's about to release her Iblis. There will be no peace. But, I don't know. Anyway. If you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.